Here's the deal, Kanye. Don't you got to be at Mar-a-lago defending your papers? Defending your leader's papers. They're taking papers from your leader. You better have something good on them.
It's about to be a really long day.
So this Trump raid is really giving a lot of fodder to different pundits to get their ratings right now. Everyone's speculating on what's going on and nobody knows. So the FBI has done an unannounced raid sanctioned by a federal judge, right? Because of probable cause, supposedly, to take some documents that apparently were supposed to be classified, right? Mm-hmm. But ended up in Mar-a-lago.
Yeah. So
right.
After the presidency, it's supposed to go to the National Archives, whatever files that you deal with the president, and certain files ended up at Mar-a-Lago.
So he basically took home a stapler that didn't belong to him.
Yeah.
It's office property.
Mm-hmm.
He got caught stealing some Post-it notes. They better have something. Otherwise, you're going to turn this guy into a martyr right now. Like, they better have something, dude. And that's the thing. You keep going after him, it only seems to get his supporters more riled up. You know? There's an old expression in D.C. The only things that could take you down are being caught with a dead woman and a live boy. And the reason for that is because these guys got so much dirt and filth on them that it's really like nothing's really shocking, right? You know, you find out some guy was taking payoffs from some lobby group. You're like, yeah, they all are. You find out somebody's giving their husband stock tips so he can, you know, figure out which stocks to buy to make millions. You're like, they all are. Right? You find out some guy's got a cousin who's sitting on the board of some company that just gets a government contract that then back funnels that money back to him through some shell corporation, which is underneath another corporation that somehow has his housekeeper, who's also his cousin, on the payroll of the family. And somehow they're all in Venice just enjoying a nice gondola ride. You're going like, they're all doing that. Mm-hmm. You find out one of them's sticking a cigar in their 21-year-old intern's pass. You're like, okay, they're all doing that. But until you end up with a dead intern in the woods like Gary Condon, who, by the way, that got swept under the rug as soon as 9/11 happened. That went away. That was like the biggest news before 9/11 was Jennifer. What was her? Jennifer Levin? No, that was another one. It was another intern who just showed up in, I think, Rock Creek Park or one of those parks in D.C. And it turned out she was having an affair with Gary Condon. And as soon as 9/11 hit, there was just no more speculation that he killed her, you know? Chandra Levy, I got it right. Oh, no, I said Jennifer Levin, who got killed by Robert Chambers.
Right.
So you better have something good on him. If you don't find a dead boy or a live girl, he's probably going to survive it.
Nothing affects
He'll be
him.
able to spin it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got scandal antibodies.
He just spins it. I mean, he spins everything, dog. He even spun losing the election and got people to support him. He spun that. Even though he said before the first election, if I lose it, he was like on record saying, if I lose it, it was stolen the first time. He was like, my strategy. I think they could catch Donald Trump on a phone call saying, here's the thing, people are so stupid. If I lose to Hillary Clinton, I'm just going to say it was thrown. And people are going to believe it. And that could be caught on record, and people would just go like, that's my guy telling it like it is. I think you could catch him just like not only saying I grab women by the pussy, you could actually have video of him just like walking around parties grabbing pussies, and people would be like, that's my guy. He tells it like it is.
Well, at least he's a man of his word.
He's a man of his word. He keeps it real. The reason why people love him is because he does not give a fuck. Mm-hmm. He does not give a fuck. And I think some of that has to do with the era that we live in now, where it's hard to spin things. You're going to get caught, right? It's the era of receipts. So at least he says it, right? So there's like nothing to catch him on. His strategy is he says so many wild things, so many, lack of a better word, not politically correct things that you don't know what to get him on. As soon as you're going over here going, whoa, 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 that's wild. You're like, oh, shit, he just said that too. You're like, oh, it's just like there's too much. You know, there's nothing to focus on. Whereas like all these other politicians are trying to be Jimmy Fallon, right? So like want everyone to love them, right? They're basically, you know, that's the thing that politicians and late night talk show hosts have in common. It's like they're trying to appeal to everyone. So they're hiding so much, pretending to be angels, pretending to be perfect. When one thing comes out, it becomes like, you know, Trump, one thing would come out every 3 hours. And you're going like, we don't even know what to get. There's just too much. We're overwhelmed. It's like an avalanche of controversy. So people, I think, kind of just respected him for his brutal honesty, whether he was saying something good or bad. I feel like he could walk into someone's house who supported him and be like, I'd love to fuck your wife, sir. And he would go, that's my prez.
Eisenhower would never do that.
Yeah, telling it like it is. Telling it like it is. He exposed a lot of that stuff in Hollywood where, basically ugly people Hollywood, where nobody's like saying what needs to be, you know, said. You know, everyone's tiptoeing around and trying to get votes. He just barreled through it. Been like, we need a wall. We need to do this. We got to get illegal immigrants out. You know, he said a lot of things that aren't necessarily untrue, because now you see the Democrats are building a wall in certain places. Right? Because a border works. You know, there are already fences and walls in certain parts. So this wall thing became like this, like, you know, he was, it almost sounded like on the left, you were like, he's trying to put, it almost, the way they spun that wall thing was like he's trying to put people in ovens. When really he's just saying he's having a border, we need a border. And the reason why people reacted so strongly to that is because the Democrats wouldn't say anything remotely like we need a border. Mm-hmm. They would just keep going like there's no illegal people. We got to take care of the dreamers. Like they'd avoid it. But their policies would always be like kind of hard on immigrants in some way, illegal immigrants, you know? Or he would just come out and say it. So I think people just respected that.
Yeah.
Especially after Obama, who was nicknamed the deporter-in-chief. His rhetoric was always kind of soft, but what he was doing was hard, which is how you do it as a politician if you don't want to be divisive.
Yeah. Trump was like Indian food.
Hardcore.
Like, I know this is good, but this is going down. It's a little too spicy for me.
He's like Indian food.
Yeah.
It's spicy. He comes in spicy. And it's an era of political correctness, right? It's an era where like, oh, can I say this? Can I say that? And he just says it. He just says it. And he's a great entertainer. He's been created by the Hollywood machine. Mm-hmm. He's an unbelievable entertainer. He's one of the first reality stars. Even before reality TV, he was like a personality that was always in the gossip pages, always in page 6. He made himself into a star. He wasn't interested in being like one of these behind the scenes quiet billionaires who just makes money. Money's not his motivation. The kid likes fame. He likes action. He likes the spotlight. He loves it. He always has. Back in the day when he used to pretend like he was his own publicist. You ever hear those phone calls? It's really funny. He's like, yeah, Donald Trump is going to be over at, you know, he's going to be over on the 14th floor. Da, 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 da. And you're going like, you sound familiar. Yeah, no, this is Ricky Johns. I'm Donald Trump's publicist. And you're going like, you sound pretty familiar, Ricky. It was actually him just calling news outlets. Part of the reason why he was able to win so many points, I feel like, with the war with his war with the media, because he knows them. He used them to get famous. So he knows what their foibles are. He knows what their weaknesses are. And he knows how slimy they can be. He knows how easily manipulated they can be in getting a story. So when they're trying to talk about, we're just reporting the truth, he's like, that's not what you guys do. And I know it because you guys made me. You guys made me a star. Hollywood made him a star, which is the irony of it. He's kind of like their Frankenstein. If there's no Apprentice, he's not known to the rest of the country, really. You know, he's a guy who had an extra role in Home Alone, and he's like a staple in New York City, right? To quote the comedian Christian Finnegan, who had a joke, which I always thought was funny, was like, to New Yorkers, he was like the naked cowboy. He was like a New York celebrity, who everyone loved, by the way. Hanging out with rappers, constantly hanging out with rappers. He was in rap songs. It's funny, too. Nobody called him a race. He was a Democrat. I mean, dude, he was a Democrat till he ran for president. I mean, he was a fucking Democrat. He was going Howard Stern. He would go try to sell his dumb ties on David Letterman. They all had him on the programs. And it wasn't because he was a boring guy. He was this big personality with this stupid hair and this orange skin tone that was a spray-on tan. I mean, the guy is a flamboyant, ridiculous-looking character. This big orange dude with a comb over where his hair goes the wrong way. And he paints himself orange. And you can tell he puts the eye goggles on and just goes, shh. You know? And he would go on there and he'd sell his fucking ties on David Letterman.
He switched sides like Anakin.
He did the old switcheroo that we talked about.
Anakin pussy grabber.
Dude. Yeah. He did the old switcheroo like we talked about last episode.